Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to a brand new episode of Boss Babes. I'm your host, Brittany Baldy, for the Lifestyle Sports Podcast, The Boss Babes, of course. This is not your typical sports show. Today, we have the gorgeous Morgan Willett. You guys obviously know who she is. She was on Big Brother, MTV's The Challenge, and she's dating Johnny Bananas. So if you guys don't know who she is, you better head over to her freaking Instagram. Go do a Google search or something because she is one of the most influential, gorgeous blondes you will ever meet. I love her social media, and she is one of the main reasons why I wanted her on here was because of her Instagram. So Morgan, how are you?
I want you to follow me around in life and just say that intro because that was amazing. I'm like, yes, Brittany, keep talking. I'm wonderful and very excited to be on this podcast.
Thank you so much. And for those of you guys that don't know, Morgan is so busy. She is always on vacations and taking photos and hanging out with her boyfriend and doing fitness classes. So I am very honored to actually have you on this podcast. Let's hop right into it. We've already kind of poked the bear on it. You are a big time social media influencer. So what exactly does that mean to be a social media influencer? And I actually saw one of your posts recently. You said the influencer world is kind of insane. So what does that mean exactly?
It is mind-blowing. So kind of like the short version is I make my full income from Instagram. And that's hard for a lot of people to believe, especially my father, who sent me to school and wanted me to work a 9 to 5. And I did broadcast journalism. And then now I'm like, Dad, I make my paycheck from Instagram. But it really is like these companies are now looking for influencers basically and using their ad money on us instead of traditional things like TV and books and newspapers and all of that. So that's kind of what I do. I basically have a manager. She brings me deals. If they're fit for me, I'll say yes, I'll say no. I'll try out the product. I will then create the content. What a lot of people don't realize is like when I create the content, it's not like me filming it and then I just pop it up on Instagram. It goes through revisions. It has to get approved. It's a whole like 9 yards of this. And then I post it, I interact with you guys. And then, then I basically get paid for doing that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's just mind blowing to me because I look at what I make and I'm on, not to like kind of shit all over myself, but I'm on the lower end of like, I don't have 1 million followers. I'm not Kim Kardashian. I know I'm not Kim Kardashian. So I know what I make. And then I look at these people with millions of followers and I can only imagine the money that they're making through social media. So it is just this crazy new world that I kind of stumbled in via reality TV. And I was like, you know what? I can brand myself. I can make this work. I love interacting with people. I have a solid audience. I know I can build this community. So why don't I try and make this my full-time job? And here I am, still doing it.
That is such an excellent explanation because even somebody like myself, who like you just mentioned, I'm sort of like an influencer. I would consider myself more of like a micro influencer. I do a lot of stuff with my podcast and social media, but nothing like what you do, nothing like what, as you mentioned, Kim Kardashian does, nothing like what a lot of professional athletes do. But it is so incredible to see how, as you talked about, social media is almost like the new age way to market and brand different products and people. And same thing with podcasts. So I like that you are able to speak about that. What are some of your favorite products and brands that you enjoy working with currently? And who would you like to work with potentially in the future?
Oh man, it's so funny because I have a list and I actually send it to my manager because while she gets presented deals and she'll bring them to me and be like, try this product. Do you like it? I also on the other end know what I like. So I'll send it to her and be like, yo, I really want to give my people a discount code. Like I love this product. I want them to try it out. And it's so funny because at the very, you're going to judge me, maybe not. At the very top of my list is a partnership with Chili's. I don't know why, but I think Chili's is the most underrated restaurant. Maybe it's because I grew up in the middle of nowhere and the only restaurant we had was Chili's. And I just think it's fantastic. Their margaritas are good. They have a great happy hour. And I'm like, I need to work with Chili's. So believe it or not, that's at the top of my list. I just did a deal with Discovery Plus, which was super fun because now streaming is like no one's watching TV anymore. Now everything is on these streaming platforms. And I'm a huge true crime fan. I am obsessed with it. I read a true crime book every single week. I'm kind of psychotic. So to be able to partner with Discovery Plus, which has some of my absolute favorite shows, that was amazing. I work with a lot of clothing companies, a lot of makeup, fun stuff. But yeah, I think those two were kind of the big ones that I was like, oh, and I'm doing one with Coppertone. I just forgot that. I'm a big advocate for skin cancer awareness. I've had a lot of really close scares due to my past of not wearing sunscreen and being in tanning beds. I'm sure at some point, Brittany, you were in a tanning bed. So the fact that I now get to be an advocate and be like, hey, I'm working with Coppertone. You need to wear sunscreen, even if you're just going outdoors for 5 minutes. So that's one that I'm super pumped because it just has a really great message behind the partnership.
Oh my gosh. I love the fact that you just mentioned going in the tanning beds. You hit the nail on the head. That was the thing back in high school. It was how dark can you get without burning yourself? What
sticker did you put on your stomach to see? I had a heart. I know at one point I did the Playboy Bunny sticker, and I thought I was the coolest thing ever if I could get that sticker to like show how tan I was. And now I'm like, why? Why did I do that?
I used to definitely do the Playboy Bunny sticker, and I also used to love, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but sometimes I would just wear like the straight up underwear in there to have like the underwear line, so it looked like you're wearing bathing suit bottoms. So I'm with you with that whole tanning bed and working with companies like Coppertone to give that message of, okay, it's not that great to be sitting out in the sun that long if your skin's not protected. So I think that's awesome that you are able to work with so many companies that you are interested in working alongside. Chili's, hit up Morgan. She wants to freaking work with you guys.
Well, come on. The El Presidente margarita is so good.
I'm all about those margaritas, especially with summer coming. And I know you are in California right now, but you also grew up in Texas. We're going to be speaking about that shortly. So for those of you guys that are listening, again, you are now listening to Morgan Willett. She's a TV personality and influencer. You guys are learning little tips and insiders on what it means to be a social media influencer and how you could actually turn this into a real job. But she did actually go to college. So don't just think that people that are posting photos aren't educated, because she went to school. We will be talking about that shortly as well. But let's hop right into it. Vacations. You love to go skiing, Lake Tahoe. I know you recently went to Carlsbad and you explored the flower fields. So do you get to cover any of these vacations for your social media platforms as far as being an influencer, or do you just like to vacation a ton for fun? How does that work?
So it's a bit of half and half. And it's so funny because I just did a Q&A on my Instagram, and that was one of the questions, like, how are you going to all these places? So normally if it's like a family vacation or I'm like, me and Johnny will go to Hawaii and stay with his sister, I don't really bother reaching out to hotels because realistically, they're not going to give you a week free stay. So I'm not even going to bother with that. But sometimes if it's just a weekend trip and I know I kind of have a following and I post a lot of travel stuff, so I'm like, why not utilize that, showcase an awesome hotel? Because I get asked all the time, where should I stay? What are your recommendations? So a lot of times I'll get my manager to do outreach to hotels that I think would be awesome. They'll allow me to stay for a couple of days, showcase the property. So that's definitely a fun perk. I always tell people it's not all fun because I work 7 days a week at all times. I never have a weekend day. There's never a time that I'm off and I put my phone up. So I mean, I do have the perks, and so that kind of weighs out all the negatives, which is like my screen time averages maybe 8 hours a day, which is disgusting.
That is a ton of screen time, but it's totally worth it. I understand what you're talking about because at the end of the day, I'm always looking up sports stats and posting on social media and reaching out to people like yourself to get people on my podcast. So I totally understand it. And for those of you guys that are listening that don't know much about being an influencer or having been on a reality TV show, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes as far as putting together a podcast, putting together a great photo shoot. Like I've watched Morgan, and I think you're about to do a birthday photo shoot. So let's talk about the birthday photo shoot. You recently ordered a balloon setup, or you're looking to order a balloon setup, and you want to do like a whole awesome spread for your birthday. So kind of walk people through the steps of like just what it takes to put together a cool set of photos.
It's a lot. But I'm like very type A. I've been like this my whole entire life. And maybe it's why the influencer world works for me, because I'm so on top of it, like almost oddly on top of it. My manager even, like, she'll send me something and be like, I need this content at the end of the month. And I will send it the next day. And I'm like, I just want to get it done with. Here you go. I've always just been very proactive. I hate procrastinating. So a lot of times I'm thinking a month in advance when it comes to like my content calendar, what I want to post, what events. So like, for example, next month is my birthday. Obviously, I want to post about that, showcase everything that I'm doing. I'm very extra. I love being over the top. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to plan a month in advance. I have a vision for what I want for this photo to announce my birthday. So I got a photographer. I worked with the company to get this awesome pink dress that I wanted. I went through a lot of different balloon Instagrams to find this wonderful woman who made this beautiful pink bouquet of balloons for me. And then I was able to shoot it. And I'm hoping, I haven't seen the photos yet, but I hope that I got the shot. And it's just so funny because I always tell people, you see these amazing photos on Instagram, you see your favorite influencers, and it's such a highlight reel. Like, it's just, I hate saying this, but it's really not real. A lot of work goes into it. It's all a setup photo shoot. So I like to remind people that when they're like, your life is amazing, it's so perfect. And I'm like, but it's also just a highlight reel. Like, obviously I'm going to showcase the best on my Instagram feed. And then if you go to my stories, that's normally where I'm like complaining and being real about my life. But just something to keep in mind that anytime you see these amazing shots on Instagram, a lot of work went behind it, and it did not just happen like with the snap of a finger.
I love that you are highlighting that because you are 100% correct. I feel like a lot of people, and this goes out to the young listeners who are looking at people like Morgan and myself, maybe Kim Kardashian, and thinking that we have these perfect lives. In some cases, yes, we are having a lot of fun. I wouldn't say that we have perfect lives by any stretch. Obviously, bad things go on. We have stress, we have drama, we have family problems that arise. We are, by no stretch of imagination do we lead perfect lives. But as Morgan mentioned, we do put in a lot of work for our content creation. And I think what you just mentioned, I don't know if you watched this documentary. It was called, I believe, Fake Famous. Yes.
Brittany, I literally watched it last week because everyone had told me to watch it, and I was mind blown. Like, I don't know if I was more mind blown or like low key insulted, because I'm like, this is actually what I do for a living. And you're kind of like making influencers look a little bit bad, but I was mind blown. It's insane.
I was super mind blown, and we're going to switch over topics shortly because I want to hear all about your younger years, but I was very mind blown by that Fake Famous as well. I think the big difference between somebody like you and somebody that literally has 0 followers and is having fake followers and paying for followers, there's something to be said about somebody that has actually been on multiple TV shows like yourself and creating content versus somebody that's just like, okay, I just want to see what it's like to be famous and see what brands I can work with. So again, not to crap on people that aren't necessarily a true influencer, because all the props to you. But as you've seen in that documentary, some people actually, although they wanted to be Instagram famous or Facebook famous, they actually ended up wanting to back out of it because they were like, holy crap, like there's a lot that goes into this.
Well, it's a lot of, all of a sudden you have a following and people like to put their 2 cents in. They're like, oh my God, they have a check mark. They have 100,000 followers. That means I get to all of a sudden have an opinion on their life because in my eyes, they're seen as famous, or they're like held to higher standards, or they're celebrities. And I'm like, one, not a celebrity. No, I don't consider myself that at all. But it is interesting because I always am someone who's like, I can't fathom messaging a stranger on the internet and saying something hateful or saying something judgmental or commenting on their life, saying what I think that they should do. But that's just me. So it's really interesting. It's this weird social media world where all of a sudden these people have these platforms, and it opens the doors for trolls and hate. So that's something I'm definitely still working on dealing with and understanding, that I guess it comes with the territory, but it's always just very interesting to me. And I'm sure, Brittany, you being on the challenge, like you've dealt with trolls and hateful comments, and it's something that is still hard for me to shake, but I'm working on it.
100% could not have been said any better. And with that, we will move on from the topic of talking about being an influencer. Girl, keep rocking it. Whether there's haters, I'm sure you have a lot of people that you are influencing in a positive light, myself included, because I look at your post and I'm like, holy crap, like I need to get into better shape because this girl's absolutely crushing it. But speaking of your younger years, I want the listeners to learn about you as a child. So guys, Morgan actually grew up in a town, I believe a small town called Granbury, Texas. She actually has an older sister. So I want you to kind of describe what it was like growing up in Granbury, Texas. What was it like with your family? What did you guys like to do for fun when you were younger?
Oh man, my childhood, I mean, it was wonderful. It really was. It was basically like your picturesque small town. We lived with the people I knew from birth, and I knew them till I graduated high school. Like, there's no secrets in a small town. So I guess that was kind of the bad part, because I had some like years in high school where I really wanted to be rebellious and I wanted to go to the parties, but my parents were very strict. They knew that I had goals beyond high school. I had goals beyond this small town. And their main thing was, you need to get out. You need to experience life outside of this small town. So we're going to be very strict, keep you like on a straight line, make sure that you're going to cheer practice, you're in every single club, which is amazing. But I, as a senior in high school, I was like, I want to go to the parties. Like, I want to be cool. I want to hang out with the cool kids. And every time I attempted to, whether I wanted to sneak out or go, my parents knew the second I showed up. It's like a small town. Everyone talks. By the time I got home the next morning, my mom and dad were waiting for me at the kitchen table being like, you're grounded for 2 months. Congrats. I mean, looking back, it's fun. I'm happy I grew up in a small town. I think it taught me a lot. I think that's why a lot of people, when they meet me, they think I'm so genuine and so friendly. And it's not that I'm trying. I think it's just growing up in small town Texas, that Southern hospitality, it just never left me. And I'm very thankful for that, because I think that's helped me out a lot in life. I don't want to say got me a lot, but just the power of being kind and talking to strangers really has opened up so many doors for me. Back to my childhood, just me, my mom, dad and sister. We grew up, again, small town. I was a big cheerleader, so I did competitive cheer. My mom, bless her soul, she would drive me, because we were in a small town, so there's no cheerleading gyms around. She would drive me an hour to cheer practice and an hour home 4 days a week. And I just remember, like, I would be doing my homework in the car, because my cheer practice was like from 5 to 8. So I'd be driving, it'd be dark. I'd have like a light on in the car. I'm doing my homework. I'd go home, go to bed, wake up. I did high school cheer, so I would practice, do pep rallies for that, leave school, go straight to cheer practice. So that was a lot of my childhood. I actually skipped my prom, which now I kind of regret. I skipped my prom to go to a cheer competition. So I was very, very serious about cheerleading. I think that's what my parents really wanted me to focus on, because they knew I was so talented, and they knew that I had an opportunity to cheer in college if I was serious. So I think that's kind of why they were so strict. They saw I was talented, whereas I was like, I'm young, I want to be an idiot. But it was fun. I loved growing up there. I was also very, very happy to get out of Granbury, Texas. So the second I realized I was accepted to University of Texas at Austin, I packed my stuff up, I moved, and I had a great 4 years. I was in Austin, it was a really nice change to get out of the small town, although I don't regret growing up there.
I love hearing the fact that you grew up in a small town. It sounds like you were very close to both friends and family. I was recently listening to a podcast episode. I don't know if you listened to Call Her Daddy at all, but she was lightly joking around about the fact that she, I believe, grew up in Pennsylvania, and she used her dad's credit card when she was younger to purchase some type of a ladder to like sneak out of her house because her parents were so strict. So when you were telling me the story about like your parents were kind of strict and wanted to keep you on the straight and narrow path, but people would kind of like tell your parents when you were up to no good. So I thought it was really cute that you were able to share that with the listeners. And I understand that you were very much so into gymnastics along with your sister and cheerleading, as you just spoke about. One of your favorite holiday memories was getting a trampoline, and your dad took all night to put this trampoline together in your backyard. So can you tell me that cute story?
Oh my gosh. So my sister and I we did gymnastics. So all we wanted was a trampoline. That's it. We didn't want anything else. So of course my parents told us, oh my God, we can't get one. It's sold out, but they were obviously lying. So we went to bed And I just remember this was like, it never gets cold in Texas. But of course, this one night, my dad was setting up this trampoline at midnight in our backyard. It was freezing. So he's out there like banging together a trampoline in like 30-degree weather. So when we wake up, Santa would have this trampoline waiting for us. And I just remember it was the most excited I've ever been. But then it's like that trampoline was the bane of my father's existence. Like because in Texas, there's a lot of thunderstorms. We would get hail and tornadoes and all these crazy like weather. So every time it would storm, the trampoline would actually be lifted up and it would be like blown down the street. So we'd wake up, there'd be a hailstorm and the trampoline's gone. And my dad would have to go track down the damn trampoline, bring it back, set it back up for us. So I know to this day he hated that trampoline. He has so many regrets getting us that for Christmas, but it's something that I'll literally never forget.
Did you guys save this trampoline? Are you going to be using it for your future kids? Like, are you and Johnny potentially, if you have kids one day?
It went in the trash as soon as my parents, they finally moved out of our small town. And once we moved houses, they were like, yeah, we're not keeping the trampoline. No one's going to use this. So the trampoline is sadly, it is gone. And I miss it.
Speaking about being a young athlete, what athletes did you look up to as a kid? Did you and your sister sit around watching like the Olympics?
Oh my gosh.
Or did you enjoy watching basketball, football?
So I'm not to my poor father. All he wanted was a son who would play football and basketball and all this stuff. And unfortunately, my sister and I, we tried the whole sports thing. My hand-eye coordination is just not there. Tried basketball. I tried volleyball. So we were both stuck in gymnastics. So my poor father was at every gymnastics meet. He wanted us to watch football. I love college football now because I cheered obviously at Texas. So I was a big fan of that. But back then it was gymnastics. We lived, breathed everything gymnastics, went to limited 2, would clear out every single thing that said gymnastics, stamped across the chest. So we would always watch like every Olympics, every gymnastics meet, and I idolized Nastia Lukin. She was my favorite because I'm taller. I'm 5'6", which in the gymnastics world is very tall. And Nastia was always taller. She was so elegant. And I just remember she would talk about being taller and be like, yeah, I can still do everything. Despite my height, I'm still amazing. I'm this beautiful gymnast. So I really looked up to her. I looked up to Nadia Comaneci. I think I'm saying that right. But in 3rd grade, we had to do a project on our like hero, and that she was mine. She was the first gymnast to get a perfect 10. So I loved her. I dressed up for like her in 3rd grade and showed up to class to present my project in a gymnastics leotard because that's how much I loved her.
Oh, that's such a cute story. I'm so happy that I asked that. I love asking my special guests who they looked up to as a child because I feel like it speaks volumes to who you are in the current. Like, who did you look up to? Who was a big influence in your life? So I think that's awesome that you have always sort of followed the gymnastics world, and it seems like it kind of took into place with what you are doing now, which is being able to be flexible and limber and using your muscles in all sorts of ways with your fitness career that you are currently doing now. So you guys are now listening to Morgan Willett. She's a TV personality and influencer. You guys probably know her from Big Brother. I believe that's her very first TV show that she was ever on. She actually won her season. Stick with us. We're going to be talking all about that shortly. She was also on MTV's The Challenge. That's actually where she met her boyfriend, Johnny Bananas. You guys obviously know who he is, especially if you're listening and you are a Challenge fan. Before we get into that, Morgan actually went to college for broadcast journalism. So how did you go from broadcast journalism to starting a career in reality TV? Like, what switched you into reality TV?
It's so funny. I never meant to be on reality TV, nor was I a fan of reality TV. But so I again went to school for broadcast journalism. My goal was to be a reporter. But in order to be a reporter in the news industry, you have to start in a very small town. You have to move to wherever they place you, Iowa, Wisconsin, small markets. And that was something that was very difficult for me. I just was not ready to leave Texas. I was not ready to, I loved Austin. I loved the city. So after college, I ended up kind of switching gears and I took a job in PR. And I was like, okay, I'll stay in Austin. It's not necessarily reporting, but it's journalism-esque. So I did that, but I hated it. I was working in a desk. I was answering phones. I was just an assistant. I was working 9 to 5, had no lunch breaks, and I was miserable. I cried every day. I hated my life. So my sister, who's a Big Brother fan, she actually sent me a tweet from a casting director, and he was like, hey, we're looking for people to apply to be on this fall season of Big Brother. So my sister was like, you should message him. Just like, give it a shot. And I was like, okay, I'm so desperate right now to just leave this job. I will do whatever. So I sent him a Twitter message, and lo and behold, he saw me. He saw my photo, contacted me. I went through a couple of Zooms. They flew me out to Los Angeles to go to finals. And then from there, I was thrust onto this TV show that I had never seen before. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, this sounds fine, whatever. I quit my job, did not give them a 2-week notice at all. I'm so sorry to that PR firm who definitely hates me now. I don't know. I just felt like I needed to take a risk. This was a door that opened for me. So I was like, you know what? I don't know if anything will come from this. I don't know. Did I just quit my job for no reason? I don't know what will happen. Will I ever get hired again? But I went on. I ended up winning. I used that money that I won to move to California. And from there, I tried to pursue TV hosting while in California. I did that my first 2 years. It was very difficult. I loved it. I kind of interned a few places, but I never landed that job that I loved. While I was kind of just like trying to figure out the next steps, I got approached to do MTV. And there was the other open door. And I'm a firm believer that when something like presents itself to you, you should just say yes and kind of make the best of it, because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know who you will meet, what will happen, if you'll meet the love of your life on a challenge show. Who knows? So I said yes. From there, went on the challenge. That I'm sure we'll dig into that, my relationship. But once I got off the challenge, I all of a sudden had this platform. I had an audience. I had people caring about what I was doing. Well, why don't I share what I love? I love fitness. So I started posting workouts once a week. Those were a big hit. And then from there, I kind of just kept building this audience. And I'm very tech savvy. I love social media. I'm very creative. I'm good in front of a camera, which I think is all due to my broadcast journalism background. So it all kind of worked out. What I'm not necessarily reporting now, but I'm still doing some type of broadcast. It's just I'm working for myself and I'm broadcasting from my own social media. So I like to say everything kind of came full circle.
Girl, I feel like everything for you is definitely flourishing. And I love hearing from different reality TV cast members, because we all sort of have similar stories in the sense of, well, we didn't really watch this TV show, but we got approached or we auditioned for something and it kind of vaulted us into different situations. So I love hearing your backstory and how you eventually landed your way on Big Brother. You were working at a PR firm that you actually hated working there. You just walked away, didn't even give them a 2-week notice. And the name of your season was actually called Big Brother Over the Top. Mm-hmm. Morgan won that season, so congratulations. You were known for flying under the radar, and your gameplay, I guess you were sort of a underdog. So can you describe your experience being on that show? Why were you an underdog, and what was your game strategy like that whole time? Believe it or not, I'm familiar with the show, but I actually never watched the full season, if you can believe that.
Well, I hate saying this because I was on Big Brother, but I haven't watched any. I watched like 1 or 2, but like I can't commit to 3 days a week. So like I totally don't blame you. It's an aggressive show to watch. But essentially, I was on Big Brother Over the Top. I went in with my sister, which was a big twist. We were kind of this secret sister twist in the game. We did not tell anyone we were related. That was kind of our big secret. We didn't want people to target us knowing that we were kind of this duo. So that was interesting, living with your own sibling and having to pretend like they are a perfect stranger is a very bizarre feeling, but we managed to pull it off. My sister, her gameplay, she was a super fan. She played very aggressively. She went in and won power. And I, from the start, was like, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to watch kind of what happens. I'm going to observe everyone. And kind of, I just don't want to be seen as a big threat because I know I'm likable. I'm very personable. I know I can get these people to love me. So I'm not going to then try and kick them out and have all this power. So that was kind of my strategy. And it's so funny because it ended up not working for my sister. Everyone thought she was this big threat, this super fan. So she got kicked off halfway through. And then once she left, there went one of my alliance members. Then my other alliance member, she flipped to the other side of the house. So within like 1 week, I lost my sister. I lost another person in my alliance. So it was just me and one other girl named Shelby. So it was us two against the whole entire house. Like, there's no way. There's no way. My sister left. She was kind of my rock. She was kind of my guide. We were this duo together. I was like, there's no way. Like, I don't even want to be here anymore. And now that she's not there, but I knew she was a big fan. I knew that I kind of wanted to keep playing for her. I was like, all right, what would Alex do? What would she want me to do in this situation? She'd want you to keep fighting. So then my other alliance member, Shelby, she got kind of blindsided. She got evicted. So it was literally me, one human left in my alliance against the other side of the house. So I knew my odds weren't great to win this show. But that's kind of when my strategy kind of worked. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be seen as like blonde, kind of ditzy girl who doesn't know what's going on, just very friendly, like the Texas cheerleader. And then I ended up showing them that I am smart. I can win competitions. So I won head of household. I ended up winning a veto. And then I got down to the very end, and it was up to America to vote on the winner. And I, being the underdog, I think that's kind of what I credit that to, was being this underdog, and America voted for me. So that's kind of like my big brother, what happened experience, but it was so amazing. It was such an awesome experience. I don't know if I'd want to do it again, because you're locked in a house with no TV or no contact, no books, pens, paper, no form of entertainment whatsoever. So it's very different than the challenge, where it's like in the challenge, you get to go out, you get to see people. Not in Big Brother, you are locked in a house. And so it was very different, but a good experience.
At any point, did people end up figuring out that Alex was your sister, or did the viewers kind of figure that out after the show aired? I guess I'm kind of curious for myself, but I wonder if the listeners who didn't see your season are curious as well.
So we did not tell anyone. So once she got evicted, no one knew. I decided to still keep it a secret because, in my opinion, I was like, I want to keep this in my back pocket just in case I need to use this secret to get someone on my side. Because in Big Brother, like, oftentimes she'll be like, all right, I'm going to tell you this big secret in order for you to vote with me this week. So it's all just kind of this big strategy gameplay. So I ended up telling one of the people in the house named Chrissy, because I needed her to vote with me that week. So I pulled her aside. I was like, look, Chrissy, I'm going to tell you this. I haven't told anyone else. It's a big secret. I was like, Alex is my sister. Like, we were together. That's why I got so emotional. That's why we were working together. And she was like, okay. And then once you go back and watch the season, she's in the interviews and she's like, Morgan thinks I'm stupid. She's lying to me. It's saying that her and Alex are related. So I did tell people. No one believed me, which is mind-blowing, because if you look at a photo of my sister and I, we look very similar. Like, you
guys look like twins.
You would be able to look at us both and be like, all right, guys, you're both from Texas. You're definitely related. So I did tell people. No one believed me. The night before the finale, I ended up telling there's 3 people left in the house. So I was like, guys, tomorrow's the end of this game we're playing. I do have a confession, and I'm not lying. And Alex was my sister. So I think at that moment they believed me. But when I originally told someone, they were like, Morgan must think I'm an idiot. I'm like, no, like, I think you're just an idiot for not believing me. So it was funny to watch that one back.
Well, that's a fun little twist. And again, congratulations to both you and your sister, because I would assume you guys, even if you didn't split the money with her, maybe you guys went on some vacations together. Maybe she visited you out in LA. I'm sure you guys went on some shopping sprees together and just like experienced being on a reality TV show, not only with a sibling or a cousin, because I know that I actually got screwed over during the season a Bloodlines of MTV's The Challenge, because my brother didn't want to do the show with me. But I think it's amazing that you were able to experience a show like that with your sister and have it being a twist and a secret the whole time. I want to switch on over because I know you have to get going within the next 25 minutes. Again, congratulations on winning your season of Big Brother. I'm probably going to have to go back and watch some highlights of that.
Go give it a binge. It's still on CBS All Access.
I'm going to have to go binge watch it at some point. You were also on X on the Beach. For those of you guys who don't know that, Morgan was also on X on the Beach. We are not going to be talking about that on this episode just because we are pressed for time. Morgan actually has to go teach a fitness class. So we have other important things to talk about, like the challenge, like fitness, like her dating Johnny. So Morgan, after being on Big Brother, was approached by MTV. She competed on War of the Worlds. So what was your season of the challenge like? What did you enjoy most about that season? And what was your favorite challenge, if you had a favorite challenge that you competed on? I know you were only on a couple episodes, but still.
It was very short-lived, so I didn't get to do all the cool stuff, but it was definitely, it was such a crazy experience. And I feel like it was a bit different for me than any of the other cast members, because I had just filmed X on the Beach for 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it was. I just filmed that crazy experience, no sleep, locked in a house again. And then 3 days later, I actually packed all my stuff, unpacked, repacked, and left to go to Africa. So to say that I wasn't in the best mental state is an understatement. I was just very stressed out, very in over my head. And then all of a sudden I'm thrust into this house with all of these crazy personalities. And I'm like, what am I doing? But I was a big fan. I really wanted to compete. Again, I'm athletic. I love any sort of competition. I knew I'd do good in that aspect. But it was very interesting. It's so funny because on my season, the rookies, there was like 12 of us. We all got to pick a vet as a partner. And I remember my sister, before I left, because I never watched the challenge, I was just excited to go compete on something. She gave me like a cheat sheet of all the cast members. She was like, here's CT, here's Wes, and like notes about them. And I remember she told me about Johnny Bananas. She was like, whatever you do, stay away from Johnny Bananas. Because I think she knew me. She knew like my flirtatious nature. And she was just like, you know what? You're here to win. Come on, just stay away from him. And lo and behold, I get in the house. I meet him. I'm like, I'm going to pick Johnny as a partner. Because in my head, he's won more than anyone. I also did not know kind of the rivalries that he had going into the season. Because again, I hadn't had a chance to research because I was stuck filming X on the Beach 6 weeks before. So I picked Johnny as a partner. We ended up getting kicked off second. So, and I was devastated. I was so upset because I just wanted to prove a point that I was more than a pretty face. Everyone just kind of sees me as like a blonde, peppy Texas cheerleader, but I was really excited to go on that show and be like, I'm here to compete. I'm here to win. So I was bummed that we only got to do like 2 challenges, but the one that I did enjoy, I mean, now looking back, I enjoyed it, but during the moment, I was like, this is miserable. I'm gonna die. But we had to race, like our partners raced. They grabbed a ball out of this like courtyard thing. They raced back to us, and the girls had to take that ball across a mud pit. Well, everyone else had like this easy time. Like they were just waltzing along, like taking their little ball. The second I got my hands on that ball, it was like 4 girls tackled me. I went like face down in the mud. And now like looking back, I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like we got a mud wrestle, and I held my own for a good amount of time. But then looking back, I realized they were targeting me because I was with Johnny. They wanted him out. He's like this big threat. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, I probably picked the wrong partner, but I have no regrets. That was a fun one. But yeah, I wish I got to stay a little bit longer. But again, everything happens for a reason.
And did you make any friends while living in the house, or do you talk to any of the cast members now? Again, I know your time there was very short-lived. Obviously, you made a potential forever life partner because you are dating Johnny. We are going to be talking about that next, guys. Stay with us. But did you come out of this with any guy friends or girlfriends from the challenge experience, or what?
I mean, there's a few. Like I stay in touch with some people via social media, but there's none that I'm like best friends with. I think because I kind of removed myself from reality TV, and a lot of these people stayed in reality TV, it's hard to stay super close friends with everyone. But yeah, I mean, I roomed with Maddie. She's a sweetheart. We don't get to talk that much anymore. Obviously, Liz and Julia, the Nolan twins, also super sweet. They live in LA, so I see them sometimes, but there's no one that I walked away with and I'm like, they're my best friend from the challenge. It wasn't like Big Brother where I walked away with Shelby, who actually ended up being my roommate in Los Angeles for a bit. It was just different. I was only there 2 weeks. And I also didn't do any other seasons. So it's not like I made these best friends. And I feel like that's kind of more Johnny's thing too. So I'm like, you know what? You go do your thing. I'm friends with kind of like Leroy and like the friends he's friends with. But other than that, I kind of just stepped back from reality TV, and a lot of people think that's strange, but for me, I think it was the healthiest thing I could have done for like my mental sanity.
So that actually leads up to my next question before we talk about Johnny. Would you ever compete on another challenge or do another reality TV show such as Amazing Race or something like that? You kind of already answered the question. It sounds like
I know I'm like, I'm done with reality TV. I would love to do Amazing Race. I think me and Johnny would be one so entertaining because our dynamic is just hysterical to watch. But I also think we would do very well on Amazing Race because we're so used to traveling with each other. So I think that is the one show I'd probably make an exception for. I don't think I'll do the challenge, but again, obviously, I don't know. I don't plan too far advanced in life, but I think about where I am now and the business I have and the fitness stuff I'm doing. And I'm just so happy where I am in life. I'm like, I don't really want to disrupt that now. So as of now, I'm not going back on the challenge anytime. I'll root for Johnny, of course. But yeah, Amazing Race, if you're happening to listen to this podcast and want to give me a call, I know we'd be more than happy to do that one.
Great answer. I love hearing that. And I'm so happy that I asked you if you would compete on another challenge because I'm sure a lot of listeners are wondering that as well. So you guys heard straight out of Morgan's mouth, as of right now, she does not want to do another challenge season. That might change in the future, but she will be continuing to root on her boyfriend. Maybe they'll end up on Amazing Race someday. Maybe my boyfriend and I will end up on Amazing Race someday as well because we both love that show. We could both go in together and maybe either be like a 4-pack or be competing against one another.
We have a built-in alliance already. It's perfect.
Exactly. We'll have a built-in alliance. So let's talk a little bit about Johnny Bananas. So you guys were partnered up. Your sister kind of told you to stay away from him. She was like, Morgan, do not end up with him. I know you're flirty. He kind of has an X on his back, but he's also really good at competing. So for those of you guys that don't know, Johnny Bananas is a very well-known, long-standing challenge competitor. He has essentially become one of the faces of the iconic show, MTV's The Challenge. Johnny is known for his great politics and at times can be very selfish with his gameplay. However, that has led him to being known as one of the greatest of all time to play that game. He has won, I believe, a total of 6 or 7 challenges. So we'll have Morgan correct me. So what exactly sparked your interest in him? And how is it dating somebody like Johnny Bananas?
It's interesting. I think at the beginning of our relationship, it was very difficult because I'm someone who, and I like to call myself normal. Like I'm pretty normal. I was on a couple TV shows, but other than that, I have very normal background, very normal family. Like I'm not used to being in the spotlight. So at first it was difficult for me to deal with, there's like tea pages that are like comment on stuff. And then everyone wants to put their 2 cents into your relationship and everyone loves to speculate what's going on. To this day, like if I don't post a photo with him every week, people assume we broke up and I get flooded with messages being like, are you and Johnny still together? And like now I just kind of shake it off because I'm like, I'm so used to it. But at first it was very difficult for me to kind of get used to, he is a public figure and he is in the spotlight and he's been on MTV for so long. So people are very invested in what he's doing. And now I am attached to that. So now they're invested in what I'm doing. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. So that was definitely hard. But I think now that I think quarantine was great for us. The pandemic, it was my first time. We were obviously locked in together, but it was my first time spending more than 2 weeks with him because he's so busy with traveling and the challenge, leaving for 3 months and then First Look. So we'd kind of see each other here and there. And I was very happy in the relationship, but I still was like, I don't know if like this is what a normal relationship is like. I wonder what it would be like if we had this normal relationship. So then the pandemic hit and it was, I feel like the best thing that could have ever happened for us because we just got so much closer. We realized, all right, we can spend all this time together and we love each other's company. We love cooking. We have so much fun together. We have this amazing banter. And it's so funny because people will message me and be like, how do you deal with Johnny picking on you all the time? Like, how do you deal with his antics? And to me, it just, I don't know, it just works for us. I think we poke fun at each other. I think the best thing about a relationship is when you both can laugh at each other. And I would never want to be in a relationship where I'm bored, and I am never bored with him. That is for sure.
So you kind of already answered my next question. My good friend Antonio is a big MTV Challenge fan, and he actually loves Johnny. So one of his big questions was, how is he off camera? So that kind of answered a little bit of the question. He loves to be playful with you. It sounds like you guys enjoy cooking dinner together, and it sounds like he can be very fun off camera, of course. So can you describe a little bit more about your dynamic together, and what's the most romantic thing that Johnny has done for you guys, and what are some of your favorite date spots? So I know that's kind of like a lot of different questions in one, but more so like, what is your dynamic together as a couple?
For sure. Well, and I always tell people there's Johnny Bananas and then there's John DiVinanzio. And I am dating John DiVinanzio. I am not dating this persona, Johnny Bananas. So I think people have to remember that they're two separate people. Like, yes, the crazy antics and the playfulness of his TV persona does carry on in his normal life. But other than that, like, they really are two separate people. So I think people look at this TV Johnny and they think, how do you date him? And I'm like, well, I'm not really dating him. Like, John DiVinanzio loves to stay home. Like, I can barely get him to go to dinner. He is such a homebody. Like, we love cooking dinner. We love binge watching a Netflix show because I feel like he is on the go so much. So when we get to be home together, it's like, I don't know, we travel so much. We're normally all over the place. And when we're home, we're like, we want to stay in. Like, we just want to hang out, enjoy each other's company. He loves gardening. He always wants me to pick weeds. And I'm like, no, I don't want to get my nails dirty. That's kind of what we argue about the most. I'm like, I don't want to be outdoors. And he loves being outdoors. But yeah, we just have a very fun relationship. The most romantic thing that he's done, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's little things, but the one that comes to like mind now is like every morning when we wake up, he gives me a kiss on the forehead. And it's like, I feel like no one would think that Johnny Bananas would do that and just like be so loving and stuff like that. And he does have a soft spot for sure. He's very affectionate, which is something because when I first meet people, I'm a little standoffish, not standoffish, but especially with the opposite sex and like dating someone, I'm like, I have my guard up. And he is so affectionate, so loving. Like, I think my favorite thing about him is watching him with his nieces and nephews because he is just so good. It'll melt your heart if you ever see him around his nieces and nephews because it's just the cutest thing ever. And I feel like people don't really associate Johnny Bananas with this like kind of like lovey-dovey guy, but it's there. You got to break down a few walls first, but it is definitely there. As for date spots, I always say, I'm like, we're the worst about that. Everyone's like, where should we go out and eat in Orange County? And I'm like, I don't know, come over to Johnny's, we'll cook you dinner. But we do love traveling. So I feel like our date nights out are when we take vacations together. Like, we're about to go to Hawaii for a week. So that'll kind of be like our big excursion out. And then I'm sure we'll get home and be hermits and stay in for 2 weeks straight. But it works for us.
That's fantastic. I love that you were able to share a little bit of your private life with Johnny. I obviously don't want you to get too much into detail. Of course, that is your private life. So thank you for sharing some of those details with us. For the listeners that actually don't know Johnny outside of reality TV, again, he has these two sides to him. He has his reality TV persona, which of course that's part of him and who he is. Actually, TJ Lavin and I spoke about this in our podcast episode. TJ and I actually spoke about how what you see on TV is not all of who we are. You see a small snippet of who we are. We're filmed 24 hours a day, and what you see on TV is 45 minutes diced and sliced together. It's like taking a box of Cheerios, throwing it on the ground, and putting together like a puzzle what the editors want to clip together. So keep in mind, Johnny Bananas, Morgan, CT, myself, Nehemiah, everybody, Nani, Jenna, Zach. At the end of the day, we are people. Yes, we all have fun personalities, but that does not define exactly who we are. We can be normal people off camera as well. So thank you for sharing that, Morgan. Of course. I know we have to jet soon, so let's hop into it. Again, thank you so much for sharing so many great details about you growing up in a small town in Texas. I know. I love that you're an open book. Thank you so much for sharing with us that you grew up in Texas, your relationship with Johnny, everything from leaving your PR job, jumping into the reality TV world, competing on The Challenge, winning the season of Big Brother. You are a social media influencer, and with that, you are super into your fitness. This girl, I don't even know how she's like not a real life Barbie. Like, she is perfection. Her body is perfection. She is very much so into her fitness. So Morgan, let's talk about why you tapped into the fitness world. Talk about some of your classes that you currently teach, and where can people sign up and potentially get trained by you online?
Yeah. So I've always been into fitness. Again, I cheered my whole entire life, so I've always been very athletic. But I'd say I really kind of dove into it at the beginning of the pandemic. Again, like I kind of mentioned, I posted like weekly workouts on my Instagram. They got a lot of traction. People loved them. They always asked me for more workouts. That is the number one message that I get on Instagram is, tell me more about your diet. Tell me what you do for workouts, all that stuff. And then when the pandemic hit, I started doing these live workouts on Instagram because I was like, everyone's stuck at home. I might as well give back, start these workouts. It'll keep me fit, all that stuff. And then I realized the demand for them were so high. So I was like, all right, how can I kind of pivot and do this for myself and kind of make an income from it and turn it into more than just like a snippet on Instagram? So I actually launched a business called Move Like Morgan during the pandemic because everyone is at home. I was like, you know what? I'm going to help people at home. You don't need to have a gym to get into shape. You can do everything from your home. All you need is a few things and someone to hold you accountable, which would be me. So I launched that. So I take one-on-one clients. I take 15 every 60 days. I do 60-day challenges. So my next one will actually open up in June. And I basically give them a full nutrition plan. I give them a workout plan. I check in with them. It is a full one-on-one experience. And it is the most rewarding thing I could have ever done. I love being an influencer. I love posting ads. I love giving discount codes, but this is so much better to have someone tell me that I helped them change their life, that they're more confident, that they lost the weight that they've been wanting to, that they're eating healthier, that their medical problems have gone away because I helped them eat healthier. So I do that. And then along with that, I teach weekly classes at a studio called Studio B in West Hollywood. So those are all virtual, which is kind of the silver lining of COVID is everything is now via Zoom, which I'm not really complaining about because it allows me to connect with a lot more people versus just taking clients in Los Angeles. So if you do want to sign up, that's Tuesdays at 4 p.m. You can go to Studio B, their website. I think you just type in Bandier, go to Studio B, and you can book classes with me. They're 30-minute sweat sessions. You will burn at least 300 calories. Like they're intense HIIT workouts, but they're so fun. I blast Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, girly pop jams. I obviously am very girly and love to dance and have fun. And that's essentially what my classes are. So do a lot within the fitness community. Yeah, it's something I'm so passionate about. It has helped me with anxiety. It's helped me with stress. It has helped me just feel better. I always tell people I don't necessarily do it for the looks. Yeah, it's awesome to look great and all that stuff and fit into the pants that you want, but to feel awesome and to feel healthy and to have a good mental mindset to me is so much more important, which is what I try and stress to people about loving fitness is do it for your mental health and do it to feel good.
That's some excellent advice. And for those of you guys that are listening, I'm your host, Brittany Baldy of the Lifestyle Sports Podcast, The Boss Babes. You are now listening to Morgan Willett, TV personality, influencer, champion of Big Brother and her season that she competed on with her sister. Big plot twist. No one really knew it was her sister till the end of the show. Super cool fact that we all learned today. We are hearing her talk all about fitness. And if you guys want to take some classes with Morgan, slide into her DMs on Instagram. Before we wrap up, you guys know that the Boss Babes are all about charity. Morgan, I know you and Johnny are working on potentially setting something up in the fitness world that is charity related. Can you talk about that, please?
Yes. So the awesome part about working at Studio B, this fitness studio, it's all virtual. So we can reach people all across, literally the world. So ideally, I've been talking to my studio manager. We want to do a charity class where Johnny and I partner up because I know he's very passionate about the Special Olympics. And I would love to do something together because anything with Johnny, obviously people love him. I think it'll gain a lot more attention. So we want to do a partner class where I teach it. Johnny probably acts a fool behind me. And then all of the proceeds will go to the Special Olympics. So that is something we're working on. I would love to do that in the summer. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
Keep an eye out on Morgan and probably Johnny's social media so you guys can see how you can give back, help them out, maybe even join a little fitness class, whether it be either A, in person in California, or B, you guys can do it virtually. Game day eats. Girl, I know you love to eat very healthy, but when you and Johnny are just hanging out, or you, your mom, your dad, and your sister, what do you guys like to eat on your cheat days? What are some of your favorite game day eats?
Oh my God. I am the queen of Tex-Mex. Obviously, growing up in Texas, we love any sort of Mexican food. Give me a basket of chips and salsa and queso, and then just leave me alone. Like, I will finish the whole basket in 5 minutes. I always say, like, I can't go to places that have unlimited chips and salsa because I will sit there and eat 3 baskets of them because I have a problem. Like, I love Tex-Mex. Give me all the tacos and enchiladas and fajitas. And I'm also such a sucker for a good spicy margarita. I don't know what is like about them, but I can down way too many, which is why I kind of have to be careful. I'm like, all right, like, limit yourself to 1 to 2, but that is definitely my weakness. Anything Tex-Mex, and I have this argument with California people all the time. I love saying that Texas Mexican food is actually much better than California Mexican food. I'm down to argue with anyone who wants to question that, but Texas is where it is at.
So if you guys want to get some real Tex-Mex, you got to go to Texas. Sounds delicious. I've never been to Texas myself, so one day I will have to venture there. But those sound like some excellent game day eats. And Morgan, what is your positive pop? Again, you are such a positive influence, and you obviously are very well known for, again, being very bright, very vibrant, having a positive influence on a lot of people. What is some of your positive pop?
So something, and it's actually something I just talked about on my Instagram the other day, and a lot of people were a big fan of it, but something I do daily, and I encourage everyone else to do it, is daily affirmations. Because I think someone was like, how are you so self-confident? Like, how do you have this energy? And I was like, I'm not going to lie. I have my bad days. I have my days where I go on Instagram and I'm comparing myself to everyone on there and wondering why I'm not the next big thing, or why I don't have this many followers, or why I don't look like that. And then I have to take a step back and do my daily affirmations to remind myself of how amazing I am. So for those listening, I encourage you daily on a pen and paper, the second you wake up, before you check your phone, before you do anything, just write down 3 affirmations about yourself. It cannot be anything with your looks, and it cannot be anything with your career, but it really makes you think about what you are on the inside and how important that is. So it's super helpful. It really just helps me start the day on a positive note. And like, self-love is so important. Like, we are so kind to others, and we're kind to our coworkers and our bosses and the people we see at the grocery store. But why are we so mean to ourselves? Like, why we should be talking so kindly to ourselves, because we're all that we have. So that is my tip. I love a good daily affirmation, 3 of them every morning.
That's some excellent positive pop. Please, guys, definitely take into consideration what Morgan said. I myself, actually, I don't do the affirmations, but I do believe in that. I actually have a gratitude journal, which is similar. So I do like to write in my gratitude journal about things that I'm grateful for, things that I'm looking forward to in my career, or health and fitness and stuff like that. So it's very similar to affirmations and meditating and whatnot, like Morgan is speaking about. Self-love and self-care. Morgan, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on the Boss Babes Lifestyle Sports Podcast today. I know you have to jet because you have a fitness class, but shout out your social media. Where can people continue to follow you on social media? If you have a website, Instagram, shout it all out.
So you can follow my personal Instagram. It's at Morgan Lee, Leigh, Willett. That's where I post literally every detail of my life. So anything you want to catch up on, check my story, because I swear my friends are like, you post everything. Like, anytime we don't see your story, we think something is wrong with you because you're not posting. So catch up with me on that. You can follow my fitness Instagram, which is at Move Like Morgan. And if you're interested in taking any of my classes or want to sign up for my 60-day challenge, it's just www.movelikeMorgan.com.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much, girl. Look forward to potentially having maybe you and Johnny on, maybe in the fall when you guys aren't as busy, but continue to rock it, continue to crush it, and have a kick-ass fitness class.
Thank you so much.